As an independent institute of higher education and a registered charity, the growth and success of Cambridge Muslim College rely on the generosity of our friends, patrons and supporters from across the UK and beyond. Help Cambridge Muslim College train future generations of Muslim scholars, thinkers and leaders, and continue delivering educational series like our Ramadan programming. You can help us continue our vital work through regular giving. Become a friend or patron of the college today. Through one-off donations, whatever the amount, or you can also pay your zakat to the college, directly benefiting students in need. Visit cambridgemuslimcollege.ac.uk/donate and donate today. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's great to be back with you today for another session in this series in Ramadan, a mosque built on Taqwa. We're in session 3 now. Last time I discussed the incident of Masjid Dirar, this damaging mosque for disunity that was built by the hypocrites of Medina, sowing discord in the community, and discussing some of the lessons that this can bring for us and how it affects our understanding of taqwa, especially in Ramadan. Today I want to continue with that and actually work through the remainder of the verses in Surah Tawbah 108 to 110 and discuss the passage and some of the lessons we can learn from this passage and this event in the early history of Islam. So we turn to this context again, just to remind you, this is in the 9th year after the Hijrah, shortly after the expedition to Tabuk. The Prophet ﷺ had travelled on this challenging journey. Some of the hypocrites, the insincere people of Medina, had not gone on the journey or had made excuses. And there was this idea of building a mosque to be a centre for kind of their activities, particularly with this figure Abu Amir al-Rahib, who had actually left to Syria but was still in correspondence with the hypocrites and planning to return. So this masjid was built, and just to remind you of verse 107 of the Qur'an, Allah tells us, "Then there are those who built a mosque in an attempt to cause harm, disbelief and disunity among the believers, as an outpost for those who fought God and His Messenger before. They swear, our intentions were nothing but good, but God bears witness that they are liars." So Allah exposes the hypocrites for building their mosque, and when He receives this revelation, it continues in the next verse, 108, which is where we're picking up today. Allah says to the Prophet, "Never pray in that mosque. You should rather pray in a mosque founded from its first day on consciousness of God, on taqwa. In this mosque there are men who desire to grow in purity. God loves those who seek to purify themselves." So we have now a contrast. On the one hand, we have this mosque built for disunity, and we have another mosque built upon taqwa, and this actually is identified in the tafsir and is well known to be referring to the Masjid Quba. And the Masjid Quba was one of the first mosques built in Islam, and it was a mosque that was founded at the time when the Prophet ﷺ was coming to Medina, and it was a very significant mosque, and it's being praised here. It's on the outskirts of the city, and it's being absolutely praised as a place of purity. So we have these two buildings, and more importantly, these two internal states, because from the outside, any mosque at that time would be a simple affair. It would be, some covering, some walls, and perhaps one area that's covered from potential rain, potential weather, maybe more. It might be some palm sheaths stacked up, some wooden planks, these kind of things. A basic structure. not the grand mosques that we see now if we travel to that part of the world, to the Hijaz, on the Umrah or the Hajj, and we can go to Medina and we can visit Masjid Quba. But in that time, it was a simple structure, and both would have been a simple structure. The Prophet ﷺ's own mosque would have been slightly more developed, perhaps, but especially Masjid Quba and this other mosque that was built in the area, very simple. But the difference comes from the internal aspect, and this is something important for us as we try to build our taqwa in Ramadan. You know, the external aspects of our appearance, of how we look, that's not going to tell the full story of our internal taqwa. Taqwa is about our own internal fear of Allah, our awareness of Allah, and our ability to stick to what's right because we're aware of God. And we have to try to develop this characteristic. And it can be hard to do so, but we have to try. And Ramadan is the perfect time to do so. So the Prophet ﷺ was ordered by Allah to destroy this mosque because it had been this source of disunity, and there was an insincere intention to even bring the Prophet ﷺ to pray there, to validate this and to build power for these individuals. And so he goes and he destroys it. In some narrations it was burnt or dismantled. And we have the Qur'an, and Allah in the Qur'an goes on to say, which is better, the person who founds his building on consciousness of God, on taqwa, and desire for his good pleasure, or the person who founds his building on the brink of a crumbling precipice that will tumble down into the fire of hell, taking him with it. God does not guide the evildoers. So we have here this idea now in the Qur'an. Allah is making this example, and He's moving from these kind of physical structures to the interior of the person. Who is founding his building? I mean, you could say, in a sense, you know, an interpretation here is like, you know, who builds your own composition, your own structure, your own body, your own nature, as well as the outward. So there's an inward meaning here. How are you going to set yourself up? How are you going to build your constitution and your ability to live in the world and to worship Allah? Are you going to be founded on this taqwa, or are you going to be founded on this kind of insincerity? And here, this idea of the crumbling precipice is that there's no reality to this hypocrisy. There's no truth to it. It seems like it's belief in the world, but in the hereafter, there's a falling down into hell. Allah mentions that the hypocrites will be in the lowest parts of hell. And so there's this idea of this outwardly pious symbol, this mosque that's been built with these apparently pious motivations, and behind it, you know, an utter insincerity. And so this means we need to know that God will look beyond what we put forward to the world and to our internal intentions. How does this affect Medina in the aftermath of the events of the Masjid Dirar? Well, as I said, it was just demolished, but also it exposed the hypocrites. Allah exposed these hypocrites and their scheme, and the community were warned. Moreover, Allah mentions about the building and about what they did in the next verse. The building they have founded will always be a source of doubt within their hearts until their hearts are cut to pieces. God is all-knowing and wise. So we have here the idea that these hypocrites will actually always have this damage. Their hearts will not be fully content or fully submitted to Allah, fully realized, and actually, even though the building, the mosque they built is gone, their own sickness is still there. And this is what we need to be worried about in ourselves. How much do we have these characteristics of hypocrisy? And, you know, even if this is exposed in one situation, will we still maintain this? We need to be careful and watch ourselves and try to eradicate any signs like this from ourselves. The event made this lesson that the sincerity of the people of Quba was recognized by God, and ultimately it's those sincere deeds that will have the good impact in life. And so always hypocrisy, nifaq, is what destroys trust, it's what erodes the heart and leads to damage and leads to disunity in the community. While taqwa, God consciousness, fosters sincerity, moral integrity and unity amongst the believers. And so this verse and these verses allow us to sort of see this in a clear way, and they deserve our reflection at this time of the year. So we need to make sure that we renew our sincere intentions when we worship, when we come to fast in the day, when we come to pray at night. Can we renew all of these intentions that we need to act in the best way? Can we be like the people of Quba who had pure hearts and good intentions, and to avoid always being hypocritical? It's important in Ramadan that the community does come together for the acts of worship, like the tarawih, for iftars in the masajid and elsewhere, and that coming together we do so with pure sincerity. We do it just for Allah, and not for show, or not to try to be, to get a name for ourselves or to get a good reputation with others, but to do it with truly sincere intentions to seek Allah's pleasure. Taqwa, like the fasting, as I mentioned before, is a shield. It can protect our hearts. It can protect us from damage and from sin, especially when combined with fasting in this month. So finally, to mention that, we need to build upon taqwa. This means to build in a physical sense, that when we work outwardly in the world, when we build institutions, when we work in social settings, in our workplaces, in schools, in wherever we are, and in our family own homes, that we do this with taqwa as much as we can. And also we need to build upon taqwa in our own spirituality, to try to work from a place of taqwa in our hearts. And I say this because my words are closest to my heart, and I'm hoping that this can impact me as much as I hope it can benefit others out there in the world. And those who hear this and can hopefully realize some of this or find ways to make it relevant for your lives and your contexts. Next time, I'm going to come to speak on this again, and I want to discuss then building institutions with taqwa in the context of our communities, particularly in the West, where we are often, Muslim minorities in our context. How can we build communities on the foundations of taqwa, and what does that look like, and especially in Ramadan? Jazakallahu khairan for your attention and time, and may Allah bless you, and I'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ramadan provides us with an invaluable opportunity to increase our piety, our God consciousness. It is also an opportune time to give generously in charity. As an independent institution of higher education and a registered charity, our work relies on the generosity of individuals like you. During this blessed month, we ask you to support Cambridge Muslim College. You can do so through regular giving, by becoming a friend or patron, or one-off donations, whatever the amount. This Ramadan, our goal is to make 10,000 new friends. Head to the donate page on our website, become a friend for as little as £5 a month, and help us continue delivering educational programs like this for the wider community, training the next generation of Muslim scholars, thinkers, and leaders.